Community Services Committee for November 21st, 2022. Our first item of business is approval of the minutes. So before we do that though, I just wanted to welcome everybody to the call, acknowledge we have Town Councilor Alberto Cortez, Liam Sweeney. We also have our colleagues, Leon Davidoff, Mayor Sherry Cantor with us, Town Manager Rick Ledwith, and Library Director Laura Ermshire, Helen Turco, and Liz Basinski, and Jerida Reitheimer. Do I have everybody? And now I am seeking a motion to approve the minutes of September 19th and October 25th, 2022. Can we do that motion as one motion?
Second motion.
All right, thank you. Any discussion? In favor of approval of the minutes, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed, say nay. Abstentions? You guys have it. Excellent, thank you. And moving on to communications, and I will turn this over to you, Mr. Ledwith. Do you have any communications for us this evening?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Rick Ledwith, Town Manager. Good to see everyone. We have nothing under communications this evening. We can move right into department reports.
Great, thank you. And so we'll start with our staff report for the library update. I will turn it over to Ms. Ermshire. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good evening, everyone. I'm happy to share with you a few things that are going on at the library. First, I wanted to mention that we are getting ready for our next strategic plan. Our last one was in 2017. It was a 5-year plan. And now that I'm on board and I've had an opportunity to be here for several months and get to know the library, we're ready to start this process. We're going to be building a team that's going to consist of library staff, library board members, and community members, and they're going to be leading the planning process. We're aiming to start this in early 2023, and I'm really excited for this opportunity to get to know the community and to hear from them on what they want to see in their library. Last week, our children's department kicked off our 6th annual kindness project, which is inspired by the book Wonder. The library will help those in need by collecting donations of hygiene products, including things like soap, shampoo, toothpaste, deodorant, and diapers. We're proud to partner with the West Hartford Food Pantry and the Fern Street Universalist Church Backpack Program to distribute donations. This year, the Mayor's Youth Council will be participating in the Kindness Project as one of their 4 impact projects to work on. And at the beginning of our project, we received a donation of 200 Dignity totes from the Dignity Grows organization. These totes contain 1 month's worth of feminine hygiene products and was a great help for us to on our work on this project. The full list of products we're collecting is on our website, and it's also posted through our libraries. People can drop off donations at any of our 3 locations now through December 16th. I'd like to tell you about a few of our upcoming programs and resources that are available at the library. In November, we're celebrating National Novel Writing Month in person for the first time since 2019. We're inviting writers to work on their NaNoWriMo novel at the library, where they can meet other local authors, see a display of writing resources, and participate in NaNoWriMo bingo with prizes. And tomorrow night, we are having a virtual program called The Ethics of Oral History with Alyssa Ray Funderburg. In this workshop, you'll learn what oral history is and the ethical principles that should guide one's work in the field. Alyssa Ray Funderburg is a highly qualified oral historian and maintains an oral history archive at the Margaret Walker Center at Jackson State University. If you'd like to sign up for that program, you can register on our website. We have a few featured resources that I'd like to draw your attention to. We're part of a consortium that has over 30 other libraries in the area, and this increases the resources that are available to our West Hartford residents. And as part of the consortium, our patrons can access the Library Connection mobile app, and this gives you easy access to library services. With the app, you can search the catalog, place holds, access our digital resources, reserve museum passes, and sign up for library programs. And one of our popular online resources is Consumer Reports. The library subscribes to both the print and online version, so you can access the content in the library or remotely with your library card. Consumer Reports is an independent nonprofit organization that does rigorous independent testing and research to enable customers to make informed decisions. Providing access to online resources like Consumer Reports is another way the library can help people in their daily lives. And I can speak to this as a relatively new resident. I've had some rather large appliance purchases, and having that resource to be able to do some research has been very helpful. And so I'd like to make sure other people know that that's available to them too. Moving on to local history, our Noah Webster location has a dedicated local history room with collections and resources about West Hartford history. Our local history room was a feature of the library's renovation in the 2000s, but the room has been closed to the public for several years due to retirement and staffing reconfigurations. And while we've been serving patrons by appointment, there has been a significant gap for the last few years in both our service and our expertise in managing this collection. This area was a significant area of concern for the staff when I first started as director. And we spent several months talking about this and looking for a solution. And I'm happy to report we found a solution. A few months ago, we hired Brett Freiberger as our new part-time local history librarian. And so now the local history room is once again open to the public. The room is open portions of Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, and the first and third Saturday of the month. Members of the public can visit the local history page of the library's website or give us a call for more information. And Brett is still relatively new, but he is starting to work with the staff at the Noah Webster House and Historical Society to see how we may be able to work together and how our collecting plans align so we're not duplicating efforts and we can combine our resources to better serve West Hartford. In other staffing news, I'm so pleased to share that 2 library staff members, Ellen Phillips and Pramod Pradhan, were recognized by the Town's Employee Recognition Committee for their design and implementation of Facts and Fun. Facts and Fun was a successful summer program that engaged over 20 children with educational and fun programming for 4 weeks in July. The program's success was due to the hard work, creativity, and flexibility of Ellen, Pramod, and the entire Facts and staff, and we're so pleased that the town recognized that hard work. Excuse me. I also wanted to share about a staffing challenge we're experiencing. Our program's publicity and outreach librarian position became vacant during the pandemic due to retirement. The position has been unfunded since then. During the pandemic, it was manageable while we had reduced hours and services, but now that we're back to regular operations, the impact on this from this vacancy is being felt throughout the organization. The staff who've been covering the work done by the position are busier than ever in their regular work, making it more difficult to fill the void. And more than just staff capacity, this position is critical for advancing the library's diversity, equity, and inclusivity efforts. We strive to offer programs that serve the different needs of the diverse West Hartford community. One of the main duties of the position is to ensure we offer a balance of programs that appeal to all different segments of the community. Without this position, staff in other departments are taking on more programming responsibilities focused on their areas of expertise, but leaving potential gaps in our program content. We're missing that organization-wide perspective to make sure we're reaching our entire community. This concludes my report, but I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have about the library.
Thank you so much. Do folks have questions for Ms. Ermsher? I have a clarification question. The vacant position, did you say that that's currently unfunded or it's funded but vacant?
It was authorized in the budget, but it was not funded in the last budget year. Do I have that wording correct, Rick?
You do, Laura, yes, through you, Madam Chair. So it's a allocated position that's not funded within the current budget. And we'll bring, we have a couple of positions we're looking at that we'll be bringing to Deputy Mayor Sweeney's committee through Finance and Administration as we talk through where we are presently with our budget for the current fiscal year, and then some of our needs from a staffing perspective and whether those might be able to be met halfway through this year.
Great, thank you for that.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for that comprehensive report. Anyone else have any questions before we move on? Okay, if not, we will move on to leisure services and social services. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Helen Rubino Turco, Director of Leisure Services and Social Services. I'm pleased to have with me our new assistant. What is your title again?
Assistant Director of Social Services.
Assistant Director of Social Services, Liz Bazinski, and she joined us a couple of months ago and has in October and has really jumped in and both feet and has really made a significant difference already. One of her early tasks, aside from meeting everybody and kind of learning the ropes and assessing how we're, all of our programs in not just the case management side, but also the community partnership side. So that's the food pantry and the Hillcrest Area Neighborhood Outreach Center. But she, as you probably know, the town is the recipient of 2 national opioid settlements. These are going to yield some multi-year payments to the town to address substance use, addiction, and those kinds of things, and also to support a lot of the prevention efforts. So Liz has analyzed these sources and is just in discussions with our health district about how best to utilize this new funding source. It's multi-year funding sources. So Liz, I would like to invite you, with your permission, Madam Chair, to have Liz give us an update on the opioid settlement funds.
Yes, thank you. Welcome, Liz.
Thank you. It's been so great to be here just in week 6 and so impressed with all the amazing work that the staff is doing for our residents. So, excuse me, I still have a little COVID cough going on here, so pardon me. We are going to be the recipient of 2 settlement funds. One is Johnson & Johnson or Janssen, and that is for 9 years. We'll be getting $103,000 annually. The second settlement is with 3 different companies. It's called distributors. And we'll be getting just over $25,000 annually. That's over 18 years. So in this year 1, we've received the funding of $129,000. And we will continue to receive that going forward. There are 2 other settlements that we expect we will be receiving funding from that have just been announced in the last month. So as Helen mentioned, we've been working with the health district, as well as our West Hartford Prevention Council and our West Hartford Prevention Partnership Coalition to discuss these funds and how we can align and strengthen some of the work that has already been happening in the town. So we are really pleased to be thinking about the hiring of a coordinator who can really focus our prevention efforts and also implement some activities on the ground. So we've been doing some things already, as you know, Drug Take Back Day in partnership with the police department and the DEA. There's some youth vaping work that's been happening, QPR and Narcan training that's been happening. So how do we continue to build on those and strengthen those and really align with what the school district is doing and thinking about how we target our prevention efforts across multiple different populations. So thinking about our youth, but also there's work we can do with seniors around prescriptions and how you turn those in and those types of things. So we're really excited and working with the state and some other communities about the approaches that they've taken, getting some job descriptions, and we hope that we'll have some more information to bring to you and bring to the town council in January.
Thank you, Liz. So it's important to note that although these are multi-year grants and they go on, it seems indefinitely, but obviously there are end dates. One is 9, one is 18. They probably will taper as the years go on, but I think we can count on significant funding to come in that would really help us hire a prevention coordinator to oversee programs. We have a very active West Hartford Prevention Council. It's one of our boards and commissions that is made up of residents. And they advise the town regularly on gaps in services or different programs that are going on. They recently completed an assessment, a wellness assessment, if you will, utilizing some UConn graduate students in public health. And really what that wellness assessment showed was not that we necessarily lack in programs, but we lack in information about those programs to connect them with our community. And now with these opioid funding, we can connect even better with some prevention programs. So again, it's a work in progress, and we hope to come back to you in another month or so with some additional some more formalized plans. So that's just one one of the many things that Liz has been doing. But it's just wonderful to have her and her wealth of knowledge. She comes to us from the United Way, so she's very cognizant and in all of the programs that are going on in the region. So we're really grateful to have her. Are there any other any questions about our social services so far?
Any questions about that piece? I know you have a very comprehensive report, so there's more to come.
Yes, so the other social services, of course, the community partnerships is very busy with Thanksgiving distribution coming up and then holiday programs. So we hope to let them catch their breath at the beginning of the year. So they're very busy, all very busy right now. I just wanted to touch on some of our capital projects. Of course, the main one is the Elmwood Community Center, the new Elmwood Community Center. So right now, Tecton Architects is the company that was chosen to conduct the feasibility and programmatic study. And that really, they've spent the last 9 months doing a lot of community outreach, particularly from June on, holding meetings with stakeholder groups, an advisory committee that's made up of stakeholder groups, as well as like senior citizens, the library staff, just different user groups. So they did an exhaustive plan. And really what they put together is going to be presented likely, I guess, at the January meeting. I understand your December town council meeting is very full. And so I believe that they are prepared to wait until the January 10th town council meeting to present their feasibility study. Right now we're editing it with them. But in the meantime, all of the information that they gathered is available on the library's website. So the library has the ability to put up and make changes quickly. And so because they do bring updates pretty regularly. And the latest information that they have up there now is a flyer called Frequently Asked Questions. And really, it does kind of, we really do get a lot of questions, and they always seem to be pretty much those 10 questions. So it was great that they suggested that we put that up on our website. We did film an informational interview with them, and we edited it recently. I do see on WHCI, they have it posted through YouTube, but it's the first version. And I worked with them a couple weeks ago to update it, but I haven't seen an updated one. So I'll keep you posted as soon as I see that. But the library has been a great partner, not just in the planning and outreach, but also in helping communicate the plans and the ideas to our community. So we're really grateful for their hard work there. The idea is that you would receive this feasibility study in January, move forward with doing an RFP for an actual designer to design the building, and then go out to bid once. That might take 9-10 months, so pretty much the rest of 2023, and then we would go out to bid for construction, hopefully having a shovel in the ground in 2024. Are there any questions about? One of the things I wanted to say about what Tecton has done is they came up with some models of what the first floor would look like, what the second floor would look like. And at our last combined meeting with some members, I guess it was community planning, really, these are ways to demonstrate what adjacencies look like. It's not that that's the actual design of what the place will look like, but it was really helpful to kind of just imagine, oh, so it might be 2 stories and the library might be on the second floor. And what would it look like if it was on the first floor? And why did you decide to do this or that? So really, it was a great way of kind of putting onto paper something that was more tangible, but it's not the actual plans. So we just have to keep reminding ourselves of that. But they have done a wonderful job in terms of community outreach. So we await their final feasibility study. Moving on with other capital project updates, of great interest, of course, to everyone is the Eisenhower Pool and Bathhouse. So that pool, those bids came in very high. And this is something that all of us have been seeing, not just in West Hartford, but across the region. Bids coming in very, very high. Public Works is seeing this, our engineers. So we decided to, we suspected that one of the reasons why it came in so high was that the time frame was very short. The bids didn't go out until September. We had originally anticipated that they would go out earlier in June. And so we think that maybe one of the reasons why it was so high was because the construction time frame was very short. So what we've decided to do instead is to do a temporary fix on the pool. They're going to, and the photo that I sent in the summary is really, there's a crack that runs crossways across the pool where the shallow end starts to descend to the deep end. And that seam is the source of some catastrophic failure, as well as the perimeter of the pool. So what we've decided to do is saw cut that section, patch it, and re-caulk the entire bottom of the pool. And we are confident that we will be able to open the pool this summer without having the renovation done yet, and then put it out to bid again this winter for a construction season that would start in August, right after the pools close. So we are moving forward with that plan, and hopefully the bids will come back more reasonable. Sorry, Rick, you're muted.
Thanks, Helen, and thanks, Madam Chair. If I could just add a couple of comments to
Sure.
Helen's presentation regarding Eisenhower Pool. So Helen was exactly right. The bids, we had bid originally, or we had budgeted originally $2.4 million for the completion of a brand new pool and a new pool house or a bathhouse. And the lowest bid came in at $4.4 million. So $2 million over what we had projected for the cost of the pool and the bathhouse. So we had, Helen met and her team met with a contractor, and it was very important to us that there was a high degree of confidence on the contractor's behalf that they could actually fix the pool so that it would be usable for the upcoming season next summer. And after a couple of meetings with the contractor, we feel very, our level of confidence is very high that they will in fact be able to repair the pool so that it would be usable for the entire season for next season over at the Eisenhower Park. So, and as Helen said, we will rebid it, and we will see what those bids come in, and hopefully they come in more reasonable. We will certainly keep the committee up to date as we proceed through that. But certainly if we have more issues regarding that bidding process and the numbers that they're coming in at, we will certainly keep the committee apprised of that process. So thank you, and thank you, Helen. We're happy to answer any questions that the committee might have through you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Ledwith. Helen, should we finish your report and then we'll do all the questions at once?
However you wish.
Let's do that.
Okay. Thank you, Madam Chair. Wolcott Park is a park that's undergoing some significant renovations, multi-year process. The western side, which is on the Chatfield side, has already received a lot of improvements. We have new basketball courts, new tennis courts / pickleball courts, as well as a new parking lot. But all of the lighting infrastructure and the electrical infrastructure was also done. Right now, we have through the baseball field is being renovated. The sod should be laid very soon. And the new lights were funded by the Youth Baseball League. And now we're turning our attention to the eastern side of this park, and we're planning to reconstruct the 1970s design pool house or bath. It's a restroom building, and that would be an ADA compliant, fully ADA compliant restroom. Right now, it has a men's room, a women's room, a family room, and a snack bar that youth baseball uses. They don't want any. They have no interest in doing that. So we're going to tear the building down and put in 4 ADA single-use only unisex restrooms, as well as a covered area, sort of like a picnic area, where people can wait to be picked up, or they can get out of the rain or get out of the sun. And that would be just in pretty much the same place as it is now. We also plan to redesign the eastern parking lot. We've got an RFP out or an RFP completed for design of that eastern parking lot. So we should be able to put that out to bid shortly. And then the final piece there will be dredging the pond, or at least dredging part of the pond. And that will just help restore that habitat. So we're really very excited about all the changes that are going at Walcott Park. But I just wanted to give you some context. We did receive a state bond, a state grant for much of this. We're also utilizing some town bonded funds, as well as community development block grant funding for the handicapped accessible restroom. Next, we'll turn our attention to Kennedy Park. We have also started to do some multi-year improvements in Kennedy. We are also going to be doing some park planning activities with the neighborhood. So we hope to be able to accomplish that over the winter and in the spring of this year coming up. But in the meantime, we have replaced the irrigation system in the soccer fields and the baseball fields. We have also have brand new basketball courts there using this post-tension concrete technology. This is something that we've been kind of gradually, progressively going through each park and replacing some of these major infrastructure blacktop hard surface courts with post-tension concrete. So we've done that at Whiting Lane. We've done it at Whiting Lane Park next to Whiting Lane School. We've also done it, like I just said, at Walcott Park, as well as the Buena Vista courts that are up behind Cornerstone. So Kennedy Park was the fourth one, and we have some additional ones coming up in the future. So that will be the renovation of the pool house is also slated to take place after we anticipate that it would either be done this winter. It's out to bid right now. So depending on how they come back, it'll either be done this winter and spring and be ready for the pool season, or we'll delay it and have it start in August after the pool season closes. That renovation will be funded by CDBG because this is in a low and moderate income neighborhood. So it's eligible for public facility improvements. Some additional projects that we have coming up are very near and dear to my heart. They include some pollinator gardens and rain gardens in each of our parks. We're working with numerous very excited hands-on community groups, including the Friends of West Hartford Parks, the West Hartford Garden Club, the Tree Action Group, the West Hartford Land Trust, Roots to Rise, which used to be called Grassroots, I think, and obviously our own staff. So we're starting to do some planning for a tree canopy study. So this is an urban tree canopy study that will help us identify different species of trees, their conditions, their location, and really help us identify what we probably already know is that some neighborhoods need more trees. So obviously the the key component to all of these three projects involves educational component. So we'll be doing some signage as well as some workshops for our community to learn about the benefits of pollinator gardens, rain gardens, and tree planting. As you may know, the Connerton Hall tennis courts are currently being renovated. They should be completed this spring for the spring use, and then they'll be painted right afterwards. And again, we're using post-tension concrete. I think as you probably know, the Board of Ed also looked at this technology and really feels that this is a great investment and will reduce cracks, sealing, and longevity. So that concludes my report, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much, Mr. Bino Turco. Very comprehensive. We have a lot of exciting things going on across town, and I'll open up to questions from my colleagues. Alberto, Mr. Cortez.
Sorry about that. Through you, Madam Chair. So my question is just in regards to the fixing the pool at Eisenhower Park. You know, what is the cost of that, and does that come out of the budget that we had allocated for the original plan of redoing the pools?
I'm happy to answer that question through you, Madam
thank you.
Chair. So the cost came in for the repair at a little less than $20,000, I believe $18,900. Helen, is that correct?
I believe it's a little bit more than that because there's two parts to it, but
Okay.
it's definitely under 50,000.
Okay. And we are not using capital. We are not bonding for this project, Mr. Cortez. So we will be utilizing funds out of I believe it's out of Bob Palmer's budget for the repairs. So it's under $50,000. We'll use a general account for the actual repair, and will not be bonding for the project the way we would have had we been constructing a brand new pool and pool house.
Thank you for that. I was just nervous because of, you know, everything going up. I'm like, how much are we paying for the repairs? But that seems extremely reasonable to buy us time.
Thank you. Other questions? Mr. Sweeney?
Yeah, on the repair of the pool, I guess the question I have is how this was a pretty serious topic of last year, and when we discussed this in committee, we were told that there was no chance of repairing it. How did we kind of get to where we are today?
So through you, Madam Chair, having not been involved in those direct conversation, I guess I've referred to Helen for that specific question. But in terms of when we did go out to bid and it came in so much higher than we had budgeted, we got together as a team, brought a contractor, maybe even two in, to say, listen, is there any way we can patch this up and try to get another year out of it? Versus spending an additional $2 million on the pool that we had not budgeted for. You know, so as I said earlier, based on our level of confidence that we had following those conversations with the contractor, we felt very strongly that they would be able to essentially come up with a Band-Aid approach for the year, so that we would be able to, our community would be able to utilize the pool for the entire season for the upcoming summer. So doesn't mean we don't need to replace the pool. We do. We were just able to buy another year, for lack of a better phrase, in dealing with the inflationary challenges that we're facing with this particular project. And actually, you know, just about every project we're bidding right now, we're facing the same challenges and issues. We have the air quality project that's happening on the school side that our chairperson is very aware of, that we're dealing with some funding issues or inflationary issues on those projects as well. So it's hitting us across the board in everything. But we're confident, as I said, that we will be able to get through the year with this repair. And then as Helen articulated earlier, we will go back out to bid and hopefully see those bids come in a little bit more reasonably the next time around. Does that answer your question, Deputy Mayor Sweeney?
I mean, yes, for right now. I just am, even if, let's say we did get this $2.5 million bid, if we were in the position last year to open the pool and it was the $20,000 repair, it would seem something that we would have been able to explore. It just is, this was a really pretty serious discussion on this pool, and we went back and forth about, well, I don't think we actually went back and forth. We were told that there's no way to fix this. And I guess I just want to know how we arrived that it is okay to operate now with this minor repair, but was not okay for last summer.
But we can get some more information on that in terms of, what, all I can say essentially is we've got the team together and literally jumped into the bottom of this pool. And the contractor felt strongly we'd be able to get a year out of it. So it is unfortunate we did lose the season. Probably, to your point, could have done that sooner and had the pool available potentially had we had the right contractor in there to take a look at this and say, yeah, we can fix this for you guys.
Okay. But so we were going to close the pool at some point for the construction. So it'll have been, I guess, a cumulative 2 years, and we'll have to close this because we'll close it this whenever this is bid again. And then, Mr. Levitt, we had talked about kind of investigating or seeing if there was a theme in how some of these contractors are kind of gouging municipalities right now. I don't know if you've kind of seen this consistently in other communities right now, but 100% jump on a price is pretty substantial even for right now. I mean, I've seen some of my stuff go up, but I haven't seen, a contract double, particularly on, if they're not importing too much. I mean, concrete, I didn't think was one of the issues, but again, I'm not a bulk purchaser, but it seems to be like taking advantage of the municipalities with federal money being out there and widely available. I don't know if that's something that you've seen in other places or heard of.
Yeah, we are hearing about it, and it's impacting essentially every municipality across the state right now. So whether in this particular case, as Helen had said earlier, part of this could be tied to our timing. We're aggressive in terms of wanting that pool opened before the season, which may have had an impact on some of the pricing as well. And we'll continue to watch the inflation numbers across the state and across the country over the coming weeks, and hopefully as a country, starting to see it a little bit soften up a little bit, but still pretty aggressive in that high 6 to 7 range. So we will continue to watch it. We will be good stewards of the taxpayer money, our taxpayers' money. And when we have to make decisions like this, then, like you had said, it essentially doubled the cost of the project. We're going to step back and see if we can look at things differently, and which is essentially what we did here. And but we are watching our quotes come in on all of our projects, and we'll make similar decisions if we need to, hit the brakes a little bit and pause things, and where we can and when we can, to ensure that we are, as I said, being good stewards of taxpayer money right now in a very challenging inflationary time.
Thank you. Is that
Yeah,
follow-ups?
I would just, one last thing. I just say, if possible, to bring it up to the CCM leadership. I know that you had been discussing that, but this is a consistent thing. I think it's something that is worthy of bringing to the Attorney General if it's becoming consistent, and particularly on federal money and on urgency. A lot of these projects are time sensitive, and that's why they're getting federal money for this, right? If that's the case and people are taking advantage of it, it seems something that the our legislative delegation should notify the Attorney General of, or whoever needs to do that on behalf of the town.
Thank you. Madam Mayor?
Thank you, Madam Chair, and welcome as a new chair. I don't think I formally said that, and I just also wanted to formally welcome Liz. Thank you so much for your work and your commitment. I did speak with, and I know that Rick and I will talk more about this, but on how to talk about the air quality that is being really a statewide issue for so many schools. So we will talk with school leadership, Madam Chair, as you know very well, and probably go through the superintendents to gather their consideration and what they're going through, all of them. It's not only the cost, it's also some legislation as well that's making, might make things very difficult. So they are talking, they're discussing a strategy to bring it to our legislators. So that's definitely something that you will be hearing more about.
Thank you. And I suspect as we head into budget season, we'll be hearing more about that and the capital improvement plan as well. I have a couple of questions as well. Do you suspect that the tennis courts will be ready for the Holland Connor tennis seasons this spring?
I am told, this is Helen Rubino Turco answering. I'm told that they will be done in time for this spring, but I think they might be doing temporary lines. I was just told that they would be usable this spring, but that they planned to paint them after, do the final top coat. So they'll probably put down something temporary and then come in and do a final coat afterwards.
Great, thank you. And my other question had to do with the baseball field at Wolcott Park. So I think you indicated, Ms. Rubino Turco, that the West Hartford Youth Baseball is paying for the lights on that field. And I'm wondering if that was something that youth baseball approached the town about, or if the town approached youth baseball about. And I want to just give you the context of where I'm coming from, is thinking about as an equity issue whether we ought to be thinking about the softball fields at Sterling, and whether those also should have lights, and if so, if we should reach out to youth softball. So can you just talk a little bit about how it came to be that youth baseball is going to cover the cost of the lights? Sure.
So first of all, Wolcott Park is our only lit park. I know that Sterling has certainly football from time to time brings in lights for a special game, and they have to get a special use permit. But no lights would be allowed at Sterling Park unless there was an ordinance change. The neighborhood, it's not, wouldn't be allowed there. At Wolcott Park, they raised money themselves and brought that to the town saying, we'd like to replace them. The town did not say, we want to replace them. Do you have the money? So what we have seen in leisure services, certainly over the last 22 years, is that some community groups will raise funds for a specific project. And that really started with Field of Dreams, the soccer foundation, which I happened to have started when I was just a resident. I wasn't involved with the department at all. But we were playing soccer, and Mayor Cantor was actually playing soccer in our league as well. But we found ourselves competing with our children for field space. And I came into my predecessor and said, can you buy some property? We need more soccer fields. And he said, well, I don't have anything in my capital budget for 5 or 6 years down the road. And I didn't know anything about a capital project, and the procedure. And I said, well, that's not acceptable. What if we raised money? And he sort of said, yeah, right. Or sure, whatever. Because I think people had said, what if we raised money? But no one had ever done it. And we started a foundation and raised $35,000 in one night. The town council was impressed enough to match that. And then we did it again the following year, and they were impressed again and matched it. And we were able to build a full-size soccer field where there was none. It was at Eisenhower Park. There were dilapidated tennis courts. The neighbors were complaining about they were an eyesore, they were a danger. So the town agreed to take them down, and then we built a full-size soccer field. So that also then spawned Little League began to raise money for their fields, and the Miracle League raised money for the Miracle League fields, and youth football and softball have contributed towards fundraising, particularly at Sterling. But the town invested $500,000 to renovate the entire Sterling complex. So it now has irrigation, which means that we can use, we don't use pesticides. We have an integrated pest management system, but it's because of its proximity to a school. So that requires irrigation in order for that process to work. So we've really reinvested, and they're beautiful. They have 3 new fields there. But I think what they're looking for too, from what I understand from softball, is similar facilities and more facilities. So I know there are some improvements that are planned at the high school level, and certainly the equity there or the inequity there is apparent. But on the youth side, really we do we have invested in those. It's a shared space. Many of our fields are shared between in the spring and the fall with lacrosse or soccer.
I appreciate that. So you and I could maybe talk offline, and a topic for future discussion could be, finding an appropriate place so that the softball players can also have nighttime games the same way that our baseball players do across town. We don't have to fix it tonight. Are there any other questions for Ms. Rubino Turco? Mr. Sweeney?
Yeah, I just wanted to get Helen's feedback on the dog park and how it's been going so far.
Well, how many of you have visited the dog park? Show of hands. So I get all of my intel from Liz Bazinski because she has a dog and goes there. I know it has been very well received by the community. We know dog parks help build a sense of community, and we really want dog parks in West Hartford. We want more than one. It is my understanding that that everyone is playing by the rules and cooperating. And this is a temporary location that looks very permanent. Of course, it'll come down. It'll be displaced when we begin construction. But certainly we will be looking at the whole property of the 100 Mayflower Street to see if there is room for this to remain there afterwards. But of course, that would go through our zoning process. We're also looking at other locations in town for additional spots.
Yeah.
So is there like a reporting mechanism of how many people are on average going there, things of that nature that the coalition is going to provide to us, or is that something that we're just kind of just so that we know?
I can speak if that's okay. This is Liz Bazinski.
Yes, please.
It's my understanding that the coalition volunteers are regularly frequenting and monitoring and tracking and making updates and making sure people are following the rules. They did put down some kind of planks on the ground when it was getting muddy over the rain the last couple of weeks. So they're really being diligent about the upkeep and making sure that people are following rules. I don't know the time frames with which they agreed to provide reporting. But it was my understanding that they were planning to collect that data and collect some kind of information so that they could make the case to keep it going forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions at all? If not, thank you very much for that comprehensive report. Are there requests for future agenda items or announcements of future agenda items? Mr. Sweeney?
Yeah, at some point, I'd love to have I think we discussed this before. It's a summary of the golf season. It's been something I'd love to get an idea of how we did this year. And also, I would be interested to see if there is any kind of survey going to go out to people that used Rockledge this year on how well it did. Obviously, it looked great. I was never able to get out there because it's always so packed. But that's a good thing. But I'd love to kind of get an update on that. And then, I think as we discussed last year, kind of how the relationship with them and the food vendor there is, and then how it's going comparably to, other like municipal courses that we've talked about before in this committee. So that would be excellent if we could do that.
Through you, Madam Chair, we will be prepared to address that at our next meeting. Ms. Rubino Turco and I actually sat down and started crunching through the data last week. So we're meeting with Peter Privatera next week, and we will be ready to give the committee an update at our next meeting.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
And in partly an answer to that question, in addition to that, Madam Chair, we typically, if we raise fees, many of the fees that Leisure Services charges are governed by the town council. So what we will do is also bring a list of fee increases for the coming year to the next meeting and discuss them. And then we would bring that to the town council in January for approval. Our spring and summer programs open to the public on February 1st. So we are busy developing those programs now, but we also from time to time raise prices at various Leisure Services facilities, including the golf course. So we will be coming with some recommended price increases to offset rising operating costs, particularly minimum wage, which goes up on June 1st.
Thank you. And I believe also the Senior Citizens Advisory Commission wants to join us for a meeting as well. And Mr. Sweeney, you would have put me in touch with them about that.
I think Councilman Cortez recently went there, and Mr. Ledwith has been in touch with them as well.
Yes, Mr. Cortez just attended one of their meetings recently. I've met with members of the commission, maybe about 2 weeks ago we met. And I had been to a previous meeting as well back in October. But certainly, yeah, we can invite them to an upcoming meeting as well.
Great, thank you.
And I think that, pardon me, Madam Chair, just one more thing. I think we had asked at our last meeting with the former chair to have the bridge come and give an update on where things are this year and how students are doing. I think that's an important thing for us to monitor with, I don't know if folks saw, but Connecticut's NAEP scores were terrible all around, and that's impacting kids on a day-to-day basis. And I'd love to obviously, Liz, this is in your space as well, but like just getting an idea of kind of the well-being of our teenagers right now, and how well we're doing. Obviously not dipping into the academic part, that's not really our space, but the well-being is certainly our space.
Great. So Mr. Ledwith, you and I will sit down together and try to calendar this all out.
We will. Thank you.
Thank you. Seeing no other items for discussion, seeking a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Thank you, Mr. Sweeney. Second.
Second.
Mr. Cortez, without objection, meeting is adjourned at 6:54 p.m. Thank you, everybody. Have a wonderful Thanksgiving. Thank you for all you do to make our town special.
Happy Thanksgiving, everyone.